5 feet 2 and under. If you're 5 feet 2 or under, you've probably been talked over more times than you can count. Not aggressively, not maliciously, just like your sentence had an expiration date. That pattern isn't random. The brain processes size fast. Faster than logic. Faster than intention. Before someone decides what you're saying, their brain has already decided how much to listen. Across human history, larger bodies meant more reach, more force, higher risk. So the brain built a shortcut. Smaller presence leads to lower perceived confrontation cost. Translation? Less hesitation. People jump in sooner. They interrupt faster. They question you mid-sentence like it's a group project, and they don't trust your part. No one is thinking this consciously, but their behavior is already adjusted. But here's where it flips, and most people miss this. Because you don't trigger intimidation, people relax around you. And relaxed people leak information. They talk more. They explain more than they plan to. They reveal things they normally filter out. You end up knowing more than the person who interrupted you. Underestimation becomes camouflage. You're not ignored. You're just not treated like a threat. Biologically, this also comes with efficiency. Smaller bodies require less total energy to maintain. Less mass leads to fewer calories, leads to lower baseline demand. In unstable environments, that's an advantage. Shorter limbs also mean movements travel a shorter distance, which can translate to more efficient force production in certain lifts. Less distance, less wasted motion. Historically, when physical dominance wasn't available, something else had to develop. Strategy, alliance building, social calibration. You don't overpower the room, you read it. Influence shifts from physical dominance to informational dominance, and that shift still matters now. Because when authority isn't automatically given, you learn to build it on purpose. You refine your tone. You lock in eye contact. You control pacing like it's part of the message. You don't rely on presence, you construct it. The trade-off is friction. You'll get tested more, interrupted more, second-guessed faster. But the advantage is precision. And precision builds credibility more reliably than intimidation ever does. Because intimidation gets attention, but precision keeps it. 5 feet 3 to 5 feet 6. If you're between 5 feet 3 and 5 feet 6, you've probably felt this. You're not ignored. But you're not automatically prioritized either. You don't walk into the room and get overlooked. But you also don't walk in and get instant authority. You exist in a negotiation zone. The brain reads you as slightly below average, but not enough to trigger a strong reaction. So instead of deciding who you are immediately, people wait. And in that gap, they start reading everything. Your posture, your tone, your pacing, which means something important. Your first signal carries more weight than your height. If your posture weakens, perception drops quickly. If your voice is steady and controlled, perception rises just as fast. There's no buffer here, no automatic advantage, no automatic penalty, just live evaluation. Biologically, this range comes with efficiency advantages. Shorter limbs mean less distance in movements like squats or bench press. Less distance often means more efficient force production. You're not working against long levers, you're working with tighter mechanics. Acceleration and rotation can also feel sharper. And like the previous range, lower total mass means lower energy demand. Historically, a lot of close-range combat and agile strategies favored builds like this. Dominance wasn't imposed from above. It was executed through timing, through positioning, through proximity. Not louder, just earlier. The invisible rule here is this. Your power is behavioral. Because your height doesn't decide the hierarchy for you, your behavior does. And when those signals are clean, something interesting happens. You can outperform people who rely entirely on presence. Because presence gets you noticed, but execution determines if people stay aligned with you. The trade-off is sensitivity. Inconsistency costs you more. If your tone shifts, people notice. If your confidence dips, perception adjusts almost immediately. But the advantage is control. You can gain status quickly when your signals are aligned. No waiting for perception to catch up. No relying on assumptions. Just response. In this range, precision isn't optional. It's the difference between being overlooked and being seen. 5 feet 7 to 5 feet 10. If you're between 5 feet 7 and 5 feet 10, something different happens. Your height rarely defines you, and because of that, you've probably never thought about it much. You exist in what feels like neutral. Not too short, not especially tall, just normal. But normal is doing more work than it seems. Humans constantly compare others to an internal baseline of what feels typical. And when your height sits close to that baseline, it stops shaping perception in a strong way. Your size doesn't dominate the first impression. Your behavior does. Immediately. No filter, no buffer, no excuse. You don't get extra authority, but you also don't get discounted, which sounds fair until you realize what that actually means. All of the pressure shifts onto how you show up. Your posture determines how you're ranked. Your pacing determines how seriously you're taken. Your decisiveness determines whether people follow you, not eventually, right away. There's nothing else for people to anchor to. Biologically, this range is balanced. Arm and leg length are proportionate. Movement is generally efficient across a wide range of activities. You don't have extreme leverage advantages, but you also avoid the joint strain that comes with very long limbs. You're mechanically well-rounded. And there's another quiet advantage. The world is built for you. Most environments are designed around average proportions, so you don't have to adjust as much, which reduces daily friction in ways most people don't consciously notice. Historically, entire systems were built around average bodies, which leads to the invisible rule here. You don't have structural excuses. Nothing is working against you, but nothing is carrying you either, which means the outcome comes down to performance. The trade-off is invisibility. If you don't create a signal, you blend in. But the advantage is flexibility. You can project authority or approachability depending on how you choose to show up. In this range, performance defines hierarchy. 5 feet 11 to 6 feet 2. If you're between 5 feet 11 and 6 feet 2, you've probably felt this. You get taken seriously a little faster. You're less likely to be interrupted immediately. People are more likely to look to you when direction is unclear. That's not coincidence. The brain is wired to associate height with capability. Across human history, larger size meant greater reach, more strength, higher threat potential. Over time, that pattern turned into a shortcut. Above average height meant higher assumed authority. Before you speak, you're already given a little momentum. Call it credibility, on credit. Biologically, this range reflects extended growth during development. Longer limbs, greater reach. You occupy more space without trying to. Historically, taller than average individuals have been overrepresented in leadership roles, which leads to the invisible rule here. You start ahead, but you're judged harder. Expectations are higher. If you hesitate, it stands out more. The trade-off is pressure. The advantage is speed. Authority is granted faster, and when you combine that with real composure and competence, credibility compounds. In this range, height amplifies your signals. 6 feet 3 to 6 feet 5. If you're between 6 feet 3 and 6 feet 5, you don't enter rooms quietly. You shift them. The brain processes size instantly. Before anyone evaluates your personality, your presence has already registered. So people hesitate. They challenge you more cautiously. They think twice before pushing back, not because of anything you said, but because of what you represent. Physically, the advantages become more obvious. Longer limbs extend reach. You cover more space with less effort. But there's a flip side. Longer limbs also mean greater mechanical stress. What starts as advantage becomes specialization, which leads to the invisible rule here. Intimidation is automatic, but it reduces openness. People don't challenge you as quickly, but they also don't relax as easily. The trade-off is distance. The advantage is quiet authority. You don't need to force presence, it's already there. In this range, power isn't about asserting control, it's about not needing to. 6 feet 6 and above. If you're 6 feet 6 or taller, you're not just above average, you're rare. And the brain pays attention to rare things. Immediately. Extreme traits signal attention. So your presence isn't just registered, it's remembered. People don't just interact with you, they remember you. But rarity creates pressure. Because people don't leave it neutral. They attach meaning. Sometimes accurate, sometimes completely wrong. But it sticks anyway. Physically, the advantages are obvious. Reach becomes extreme. Stride expands. But so do the demands. More stress, more recovery, more control required. Which leads to the invisible rule here. You don't get neutral reactions. People decide something about you immediately. The trade-off is projection pressure. The advantage is automatic attention. And when attention is built in, perception becomes your main lever. If you manage it with calm control, your height amplifies every signal you send. If you don't, it amplifies noise. In this range, strategy determines everything. So your height isn't just the advantage, and it's not just the disadvantage either. It's the starting condition. What actually determines how people treat you is how quickly you understand the signal you're sending and how intentionally you control it. Because two people at the exact same height can walk into the same room and leave with completely different outcomes. The difference isn't structure, it's interpretation. So now I'm curious, which one actually applied to you? And if you're noticing these patterns in behavior now, subscribe, because they show up in more places than you think.